Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks a lot for joining. So tonight we're going to talk about arguably the most crucial approach within the crowdsourcing methodology, one of the most essential components of it, which is decomposition. And decomposition means that if you have a complicated task, you can break it down into easy to do, well-defined, clear-cut steps to make it possible to complete without any specific knowledge of your subject. So it works really well with crowdsourcing because by the nature of this approach, you have lots of people with unknown skills, and you want to share your task with as much of the crowd as possible. So, like, imagine following the instruction for IKEA or building a Lego toy. That's the same approach. It makes a lot of sense. But now let's see how we can apply it for our particular task, for our particular crowdsourcing methodology. So, what are the benefits of this approach within crowdsourcing? First of all, when you make your tasks easier, they're completed much faster, and time is of the essence, and time is money. When you make your tasks easier, it's easier to control its quality, it's easier to assess the results. It becomes pretty straightforward because if you have a simple labeling guideline, you can implement very effective aggregation models, pretty straightforward quality control rules, and so on. So, what do you get if you broke down your complex task into a simple one? First of all, you need to apply our approach, starting with the very first step, coming up with an instruction. So again, let me reiterate that you can apply decomposition on several steps of making a project. And you can start with the instruction because, again, you don't know anything about the skills of your crowd, and you want to share your task with as many people as possible. So what you want to try to do is describe your task in a way that after reading your instruction, basically everyone would get it. And maybe after some simple training and examination, they will be ready to complete your main task. So you need a simple clear-cut instruction, and it should be reflected in your task interface. So you can apply the decomposition approach at this step as well, because you don't want your interface to contain some unnecessary vague elements. You want your interface to have only the those choices that are crucial to completing your task. And if you followed these ideas, then you get performers who complete tasks with better quality because the interface is clear and simple. The instruction is very well defined. Again, you can control the quality way easier. You can apply your standard aggregation models like majority vote, data scheme, and so on. And it's easier to optimize the pricing because, again, it's easier to appraise, it's easier to assess a simple task than a very complex one containing several steps, several pitfalls, and so on. So, as a rule of thumb, within basically any crowdsourcing platform, you can be sure that you broke down your task accordingly when you have a short instruction, like in terms of real-life physical objects, it's like a half of an A4 sheet of paper. And ideally, your task should require just a single action. I know that it's not possible all the time, but this is the thing you should strive to achieve. So when you're designing a project, you start with defining your objectives. You outline the necessary steps to complete a task, and then check if all the necessary steps are easy enough to follow. And if they're too complicated, you get back and adjust your necessary steps. So there are several popular scenarios where decomposition works really well. For example, you have a complex challenge and you want to simplify it. Like, imagine that you want to moderate a comment or get some useful information about feedback on a website. You can directly ask a person to say whether this feedback was good or bad. It looks like it's easy because it requires just simple task, but on the other hand, the question is very vague. So you want to break it down into really well-defined questions where it's easier to answer yes or no. For example, whether the feedback message is grammatically correct, whether it contains some spam, and so on. The next popular case is when you have a multitask with several steps, and you can split it into several processes or projects, as we call them. For example, if you want to assess or like outline some objects in a data set of pictures, and your data is very raw, you can just cram everything into one project, like ask whether this image even contains this object or not. You can ask to outline all kinds of objects in the picture within your interface, and so on. But such a task would be quite daunting. It would be long, and it would be very hard to estimate. So what you can do within the decomposition methodology is just split it into several consecutive projects, each of which containing just one simple step, and connect them into a pipeline. And what also might happen is you want to label your data set into tons of different options. I don't know, dozens of categories, tags, and so on. It would be quite a bulky interface if you had all your options listed on one screen, and it would be quite hard to aggregate your answers. So what you can do is think about combining them. I know that decomposition is breaking down, but sometimes to make the task easy, you can actually combine your options into several groups, several categories. And then when you split your data set, label it into several big ones, you then can label it into subcategories within these bigger ones. So let's see some actual examples of applying decomposition. For example, you need to collect some offline data. Say you have a set of business cards, and they include pictures of, for example, pictures of entrances to a business. You have some details about your organization, like business hours and so on. And you want a person to update your catalog by physically visiting this location, taking a picture, and making notes about the details. But you can see that this is a quite complex task because it involves several steps. And when your performer brings you some result, several pitfalls might await you. For example, the pictures might be good, but the details are wrong, or the pictures are of too low quality, but on the other hand, the details are all right. Or maybe a person even forgot to bring you some details, but took a good picture, and so on. Or maybe he or she just, downloaded some information from the internet without actually visiting the location. So how can you deal with it? What you can do is design a pipeline with several different projects. You ask one person to bring a photo, you ask another performer to verify the address, and the third one to check the opening hours for this organization, and then you can combine these results into a very nice set of updated business cards. It might be counterintuitive that this will be faster and cheaper, but on the other hand, like in reality, when your task is easy to follow and simple, it takes you way less money to get the results in data set because you don't need to reevaluate it every time. So actually it saves you a lot of time and money, even though you came up with 3 projects instead of 1. Or for example, you are working in computer vision and you need to outline some objects in the pictures. So you have a set of photos and you want to get these photos with some objects annotated with bounding boxes. Some pictures might not even contain the necessary objects because you never know, your data set might be quite raw. And it's very hard to apply standard quality control methods for outlining with bounding boxes. It would be hard to, apply majority vote when you're talking about coordinates in the picture. So what we suggest in this scenario is you make your very first project where you trim your data set by finding only those photos that contain the necessary object. Like in our case, it's a traffic light. Then when your performers annotate the images and you get only those that do contain traffic lights, you make the next project where you ask your performers to outline each traffic light with a bounding box. But then, as I already mentioned, you want to somehow assess the quality of their answers. So you make the third project where you ask your performers whether the bounding was correct. If it was correct, this resulting image with annotation goes into your data set, and if the bounding was incorrect, you can reevaluate it again in the project 2, send for post acceptance in the third project, and within several iterations get a very nice set of annotated images. And let's discuss yet another case. For example, you want people to write some ads for you. So you have basic information on your ads, you can get it, but again, the question is how to check quality and how to save money. Because some ads, some text that your performance might bring to you could be of low quality. So what you can do is make a project where you ask a person to write and you write for you. Then trim the technically incorrect results, like check spelling, check the length of the text, and so on. This can be done automatically, and you can absolutely include any automated methods within your pipeline. But then when your text is technically correct and complies with these formal rules, you can make the second project where you ask another performers to verify that, to edit it, to reread, and maybe even correct it on the go. And that's how you get a ready-to-use set of ads with quite a simple pipeline and without cramming everything into just one project.
We have a Toloka community, so you are all welcome to join it. Here is the QR code in this slide, and also you are very welcome anytime to contact us on our email and visit our website to find interesting materials, important information, and to get to know about our upcoming events.